Welcome to the Rise Above Show with Patricia Jo Grover, where we rise above our challenges and turn believers into achievers. Today I have with me Mel Mason, and let me tell you a little bit about Mel. She's an international best-selling author. Mel Mason is the Clutter Expert and a sexual abuse survivor. She grew up depressed, suicidal, and surrounded by clutter. What she realized after coming back from the brink of despair and getting through her own chaos was that outside is just a mirror of the inside. If you only address the outside without changing the inside, the clutter keeps coming back. That set her on a mission to empower people around the world to get free from clutter outside and in so that they can thrive and experience happiness and abundance in every area of their lives. She is the author of Freedom from Clutter, the guaranteed foolproof step-by-step process to remove that stuff that is weighing you down. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to have you, Mel.
So excited to be here, Patty. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh my goodness. So I have a new segment that I've added to my show. It's This Grammy Doesn't Knit, She Cliches. So what I do is I like to have our guests come and share words of wisdom or a phrase that maybe they heard as a child and do some myth busting if it still holds true today.
I think the phrase that comes to mind is something that would be considered a limiting belief, but it does. All limiting beliefs have their benefits. It was you have to work hard to get what you want. And so, there's that belief that you can't get what you want unless you work hard, which is a negative belief because that's not true, because you can actually get things effortlessly when you're tapped in and tuned in and turned on. But also having that you have to work hard, it instilled a strong work ethic in me. So whatever jobs I held, I always worked to the best of my ability and just moved up the ranks in wherever I worked because I had that instilled in me.
Oh, and that makes so much sense. And it really does really affect us, and we really start to think about these things. So are there other words that you think could be used in today's society to get the same message across, but not give as much of a negative.
I know, right? Let's see. What would you, in a positive sense, instead of saying you have to work hard to get what you want, you have to focus on what you want with intense desire. That's what you need to do, is focus on what you want with intense desire and act as if it is already happening. Feel it 100%, believe it to be true, and there's where it happens.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. There we go. Awesome. Well, Mel, thanks for playing with me. I work so deeply with clients and I know these words can affect us in different ways and start to create us when we're children. That's where belief windows are starting to be, formed. But but the most powerful words are the words that we use with ourselves, right?
Yes.
So awesome. Well,
Yeah, very careful about that. But I have to play back. I have to ask. I'm detecting an East Coast accent from you.
Yes, I'm a Maina.
Maina. Okay, I'm from Massachusetts originally.
I was born in Massachusetts, actually. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
wonderful.
Okay. I was like, I'm detecting it here somewhere.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. See, so I'm going to go on to some more questions for you.
All right, bring it. Let's
All
go.
right. How did you become a clutter expert? Because oh my goodness, we've all seen, different those hoarder shows and everything. So there's a different level of clutter. But can you tell us how you became an expert?
The Clutter Expert. Yes, I definitely didn't get the name by accident. I was known as the cluttered, messy kid you could not walk in my room. The entire floor was covered. There were a couple paths in there that I only knew where they were. I could get to my bed, I could get to the desk, I could get to the closet, but nobody else could walk in there. You know what I mean? And my idea of cleaning was shoving it under the bed and in the closet, and that was it. I didn't really care. And it wasn't just stuff I was surrounded by. I was fine living in filth. I had trash all over the place. Like I was okay living like that, because what I didn't realize at the time is the outside is only a mirror of the inside. That's it. It's always mirroring what's going on inside of us, whether we like it or not. That's just the truth. And at that point in my life, I was littered with clutter. I had already experienced a lot of trauma and loss. My parents separated when I was 4. I had 3 different sexual traumas from 3 different people at the age of 8 years old. And by the age of 15 years old, I lost my older brother to suicide. And I didn't just lose him to suicide. I was living with him at the time. So I was the one who found him. And in the same moment as of finding him, his suicide note left a 15-year-old cluttered mess, all of his belongings. I became the sole inheritor of all of his stuff and had to figure out what I was keeping and who could have what and go through his entire house after he'd passed. So that pretty much sent me kind of on a downward spiral. I wasn't really expected to make it to see my 18th birthday alive. I could care less. If you could tell what I was living in, I didn't really care about being on the planet. And I wound up getting kicked out of my high school, my sophomore year of high school, a month after my brother committed suicide for being a danger to myself and others. I was considered a danger, and they said, you can't come back until you get intensive therapy. And what that looked like for me was going to spend the next year and a half of my life living in a residential treatment center for adolescents, where I got to live on campus and walk up a little path to another building and go to school on campus. Didn't get to go very far. But while I was living there, I was introduced to yoga and mindfulness. And ultimately, what yoga and mindfulness taught me was how to come home and be present in my body for all that inner clutter that had been accumulating. And what started to happen was that cluttered, messy kid who was completely fine living like that. Now, mind you, I was not like my clients. Oh, I need help. I'm coming to you because I need help. I wasn't asking for help. I was asking to get off the planet, right? And as a result of learning how to be present for my own experience, that cluttered, messy kid became someone who could no longer tolerate the clutter and started creating order in my environment spontaneously, without forcing myself, without dragging myself, without having to schedule time to do it once a week, twice a week, whatever. It just started to happen as a result of me being willing to make the space inside. Why? Because the outside is only a mirror of the inside. And so it took me following the breadcrumbs of spirit to eventually get to become the clutter expert. I thought I was going to be an energy healer, a yoga teacher, martial arts instructor, you name it, therapist, chiropractor, all these different things. And then I wound up sitting in front of a Hoarders episode one time, the very first time I ever saw the show. And I had this background in energy healing, and I loved creating order out of chaos. And I'm like, why don't I create a company that first helps people not get to this point the way that it is, and then B, helps them keep it from coming back? Because what inevitably happens after the show leaves and they create all that clean space is all the clutter comes right back because nothing was addressed. So then Decluttering Spaces was born from that moment.
Oh my goodness, Mel. I hope our viewers and listeners are taking note of these things, and the connection between our mindset and our actually emotional health, also how it all attaches to everything. And one thing that comes to mind, and because my childhood was one, and I say that most people couldn't conceive, let alone believe, and that's why I do what I do now too. But what I can see from you being able to start working with clutter and straightening things out is those are things that you had power over, and you saw the immediate results, and that was rewarding, and I can see that being very beneficial too.
Yeah, I also believe, for me, because what I believe is that it's your birthright to thrive in every area of your life. And that birthright exists inside of you. It's like the seed within a fruit, right? So the power that created order out of the Big Bang, it loves creating order, lives inside of you. And the only reason why we don't have order is because we have interference blocking the access to that power. And so it's just once we begin to remove the interference, we naturally want order in our lives, period. So people that say, I don't have the organizing gene, BS.
Oh, again, viewers and listeners, I hope you're taking note of this, because there's some good messages being shared here. Oh my goodness, Mel. So, let me ask you, what do you mean when you talk about the outside being a mirror of the inside?
Yes, I love talking
I
about
have
this.
the concept of it, but for the viewers and listeners to really get a deep understanding of what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to talk about this. Well, we know the law of gravity, right? We may not like it, but we believe it to be true because you throw something up in the air, it's going to fall down, right? So that's a law in the universe. There's another law in the universe called the principle of correspondence, and it states as above, so below, or as within, so without. You may be more familiar with it as in the Our Father when you hear as on earth as it is in heaven, heaven being the inner, earth being the outer. See, us being human beings, we actually don't have the capacity to see ourselves. We have blind spots. We cannot fully see ourselves. We require others to reflect us back to ourselves. And so, therefore, everything outside of you is a mirror of what's going on inside of you. When you're pointing the finger, blaming someone, you can't spot it if you don't got it. When you're pointing the finger, complimenting someone and praising and thinking how amazing someone is, you can't spot it if you don't got it. And so the outside being a mirror of the inside, when you think of clutter, clutter begins to accumulate. Why? Because we're just not willing to look at it. We're like, nope, not going to do with you. I'm not going to look at you. Right. And so that not willing to look at what's going on outside, because the outside is a mirror of the inside, it's just reflecting back the fact that you're not willing to be present with yourself. That's it. It's so super simple. All your life, you're like, no, no, no. All you need to do is say, yes, 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 I see you. I'm willing to see you. And that's the solution to get free from clutter once and for all and keep it from coming back.
Oh my goodness. Mic drop for that. Mic drop for that. Oh my goodness. Yes. Awesome, Mel. So we need to take a quick break to hear words from our sponsor, 133 Approved Funding, and we will be back in just a moment. And we're back. For those of you just joining us, I have with me today Mel Mason, and she is all about decluttering. She is the queen of taking care of decluttering everything, decluttering spaces. So Mel, can you tell us really? Can you give a better explanation to us on what clutter actually is?
Of course, when you hear the word clutter, I'm sure you think of, piles accumulating, those drawers overflowing, or the garage you would love to park your car in, but you can't. And what I want to tell you is that's just an external manifestation. Yeah, we call that clutter, but that's just an external manifestation of an internal condition. And it's just one external manifestation. You may be familiar with some other ones, like carrying excess weight on the body, having debt, struggling with addiction, having a lack mindset, needing to shoot Botox into your body to change the way that you look, having a busy schedule. All of those things are the external manifestations of the same internal stuff, what I call internal clutter, which is the repressed emotions from traumas and losses, resentments, fears, limiting beliefs, judgments, all of that stuff we accumulate. It just starts to block the interference from your birthright. And so ultimately, I believe that clutter is anything that keeps you from accessing your birthright, which is to thrive in every area of your life.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, did you hear what she just
When you
said?
do what I teach my clients, every area of your life gets better.
Oh, that's fantastic, and just the way that you explained it, Mel, was so beautiful for people to really wrap their heads around.
Can you repeat that? You cut out.
I
There
said
was a
that it was beautiful the way that you explained it for people to be able to wrap their heads around, understanding what clutter is not just what we think of a pile of things beside our
yes.
desk, right?
Yes, because lots of people are like, well, I don't have clutter. You don't have that form of clutter, but we
Right.
all as humans have clutter. Like I'm the clutter expert. I still have clutter. I still have limiting beliefs that come up that become aware that I have to clear. I still wind up judging things. I still wind up beating myself up at times. I'm still human. I just am able to do something differently. Like recently I was in a car crash and I was beating myself up for it. I caught myself beating myself up, and instead of beating myself up, my response was, because of what I teach my clients, was, oh, there I go beating myself up again. Isn't that interesting? And I laughed at myself, stopped beating myself up, and then I reframed it. And I was like, yeah, it wasn't the most skillful choice I've made, but it doesn't make me stupid. Moving on, that's gone. I'm not sitting myself up anymore. I'm not beating myself up for beating myself thought in the first place, because I'm human. I'm going to have the thoughts, but the difference is I don't have to stay with them and I don't have to feed them and keep doing it, just telling the story over and over again. I'm just like, oh, I see you for what you are. I'm judging myself. I'm beating myself up. Okay, great. Moving on. Don't have to do that anymore.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. Okay, our viewers and listeners, I hope you're taking notes, all kinds of notes for this segment. So I need to ask you though, Mel, where does clutter begin to accumulate? Where do you notice it most?
So I think all clutter accumulates from two things. We resist what's uncomfortable. So we're like, we avoid, we avoid, we avoid. So when we avoid something, it doesn't go away.
True.
It just keeps piling up. It's like, imagine trying to keep a cork underwater. Just one cork, right? Constant energy. If you let go, it's coming up. You have to keep energy, right? So for everything that you avoid, for everything that you deny, that's a cork underwater. Hundreds, thousands upon hundreds of thousands of corks you're trying to keep underwater, right? So all of that starts to block the flow and starts to cause clutter inside of you. And the other way is by desperately hanging on to the things you're not willing to let go of, whether it be physical things or unhealthy relationships or that addiction, whatever it is you're not willing to let go of, there's that grasping and that clinging energy. And when we're doing that, we're just blocking the flow. You can only ever be in either a state of contraction, resisting and contracting, or a state of allowing. There's never an in between. It's either contracted or allowing. Your muscles do it. When one muscle contracts, when you bend something, another one is relaxing. It's only contraction and relaxing, and you can only be in one or the other. And so the great thing is when you notice you're contracted, you be like, oh, I'm creating clutter. I can now go into a state of allowing now instead, and you can make a different choice. So we create the clutter and start accumulating it by avoiding and resisting what's uncomfortable and desperately hanging onto what feels good. And then that starts to block the flow because we're accumulating it inside of us. It gets stuck inside of our cells, in our body. And then because the outside is a mirror of the inside, when you have all that clutter inside, it has to show up somewhere. So it's either going to show up in your environment, it's going to show up on your body. How many times have you tried those diets and released the weight only to have it come right back? Or that toxic relationship you keep trying to get out of and saying you're going to leave and planning it and then coming back.
Oh, so, such great points that you're making here, Mel. And I hope, again, the viewers and listeners are taking note of this. So, oh my goodness, really, really, all these things adding up. So how do you keep clutter from coming back?
Ultimately, when you become willing to be present for yourself for all of the inner clutter and you make the space from the inside out, the clutter doesn't keep coming back because you're making space on the outside. It's when you go from the outside in without doing anything on the inside that you can clear a surface, you can organize your garage, you can go on that fat diet, and the clutter, the weight come back, whatever it is, the toxic relationship, it just keeps coming back if you're not willing to do the inner piece, because The only thing you need to master is the outside is a mirror of the inside. It's never about the other person that's triggering you. Ever, ever, ever. It's
Oh,
always about you. If you're getting triggered, you're the one getting triggered, not the other person.
ooh.
It's your mirror.
Oh, wow. Oh, fantastic. Oh my goodness, Mel. So, I've had your website here for the whole time, but can you tell everybody where what where they can find you so that they can hear what you're saying?
Yeah, the best way to find me is my website is www.decluttering spaces.com.
Awesome,
The
awesome.
contact form that pops up on the lower right hand side, you can just shoot me an email.
Wonderful. And do you have any free gifts for our viewers and listeners?
Of course. And I'm all about giving things away, but I'm not about giving out clutter. I wrote a book. You heard about it in my bio, Freedom from Clutter. I don't want you to have to go out and buy the book and get the physical clutter. Unless you want an autographed copy, that's totally different. But so I give you the whole thing for free. All you need to do is go to freegiftfrommel.com. Super easy. Freegiftfrommel.com. You can download the whole book for free. You just have to put your name and email address in.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. Well, Mel, thank you for being here and serving with us. I'm sure you'll have viewers and listeners reaching out to you. And oh my goodness. Yes. Oh,
My pleasure, Patty. Thank you so much for having me.
for those of you who'd like to find out more about me and how I serve, you can go to patriciajogrover.com. If you'd like to take advantage of the gift that I have for you, you can text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 26786 if you're in the continental US. But if you're outside, use the number 1-866-926-4020. And if you're not a texter, you can go to https://bit.ly/pjg gifts. Oh my goodness. We'll have a little video on the way out. And I want to just say thank you for being with us. And until next time, rise above the challenges that life brings your way and have a great day.